Hello, my name is Des Futek. I am the curator of content on the Astronomy Near Me website, and I've put together a series of resources for you, which I think is going to really help you if you're getting started in astronomy. In this short video, I'm going to just do a quick overview of the night sky in October. Now, depending on which year you're watching this, the timings might be slightly different because, well, just the fact that things move around quite a bit, and I won't go into details of why, but next October, when you watch this again, things will be slightly different in the night sky. So you might need to go plus or minus 1 day. But this video should be a useful resource for any year for events that are worth looking out for in the month of October. So without further ado, I'm just going to make myself a little bit smaller here so you can see this page. I'm using this resource that I've put together called astronomynear.me/resources. Now, this is a jump-off point to my Notion webpage. I don't know if you're familiar with Notion, but it's a note-taking app and enables you to show data in a really cool way. And so I've put together this site, which I will be updating quite regularly. In fact, I need to change that. It says last updated on the 9th of October 2021 at the time of making this video, because today I've actually just added a really cool resource that someone recommended me from a local website called Nextdoor. And on this Nextdoor website, this particular person said, have a look at this particular link here, Astronomy with an Online Telescope. So that's new for today. Also, there's a comprehensive list of my recommendations for astronomy equipment. If you're wanting to look at the night sky with more than just the naked eye, then I've got a whole list of information or details on binoculars, the sorts of binoculars you should be looking out for if you're going to go for a more expensive telescope, with the added addition of being able to see things like the planets, nebulae and galaxies and so on. I've got a list of my 6 recommendations of telescopes as well, so do have a look at those. So for this particular video then, I am looking at the night sky, and I want to point out another resource that I've recently found called Stellarium Web. Now, I have Stellarium actually on my computer. In fact, it's just behind this web browser. You can see some grass, and it looks a bit like the daytime sky taken from Swindon. I don't live in Swindon, I live in Bristol, but for some reason my computer thinks I'm in Swindon. So you can actually use Stellarium to look at the night sky or to plan what you're going to look at on any given night, and it's a really great piece of software. But what's even better, if you don't have access to a smartphone or you don't want to download anything onto your computer, you can actually use the software online, which is great because you can navigate around the night sky as if you were actually using it on your computer. It's a little bit kind of jumpy compared to what you would use on the computer, so I'm going to go back to my computer version. But the contents of this video can be summed up in this picture. Tonight you will be able to see 3 planets just after sunset. In fact, Venus just here is showing on the horizon just after sunset, and next to it's the moon. Then you've got Saturn, and then you've got Jupiter, and they're all lined up like this at the same angle as the sun. It's called the ecliptic, which is the plane of our whole solar system. So most objects lie on that plane called the ecliptic. The moon goes a bit above and below the ecliptic, and that's why we don't get solar eclipses every month. We just get them occasionally when the lining up happens to work well. So I'm going to talk to you briefly today about Venus and the moon, and then Jupiter and Saturn, and then show you a couple of other objects, and even some shooting stars or a meteor shower, as you're more likely to hear it said by astronomers. That's coming towards the end of the month. So let me crack on. So here you can see in front of you the software that I showed you, the web version. This is the computerized version, so it operates a lot more smoothly. This is roughly where the sun is in the sky at the time of making this video, which is about 2:15 in the afternoon on the 10th of October. And you can see here the moon has already risen, but it's a very, very thin crescent moon. And next to it, if you had a powerful enough telescope, you'd be able to see Venus during the daytime as well. Now, most of us don't have access to a powerful telescope that knows where things are in the sky, so we're going to have to rely on this software to guide us. So if I skip forward to later on in the afternoon, you'll see the sun starts getting lower, and then as it goes down towards the horizon, the sky will darken, at which point Venus will appear above the sky's glow just after sunset. So you can see just about now you can begin to see Venus, but it's very low in the southwest. So if you're going to watch Venus and the moon tonight, this is loosely termed a conjunction, by the way, where two objects in the night sky appear close together, then you need to do it just after sunset and have a very good view of the horizon. So Venus will be approximately 8 to 10 degrees above the horizon at this time, and it will rapidly sink below the night sky, and the moon as well will look pretty spectacular as a thin crescent that you'll be able to see as well. So do look out for those in the southwest sky. Also, you can see here Jupiter is just making its presence known around sunset. When we go to about half an hour to an hour after sunset, let's take around sort of 7:15, something like that, Jupiter will be nice and bright, and next to it will be Saturn. Now, in order to see some of the close-up features of Jupiter, you will need at least times 20 binoculars. So if I kind of simulate that here, you can see once I start zooming in a lot, then there are some objects that appear in the same plane as Jupiter, and these were first observed by Galileo in the 1600s, and these are named after him. They're called the Galilean moons, and they've got very famous names: Io, Callisto, Ganymede, Europa, and they've been incredibly well studied by NASA and European space probes over the last 20 or 30 years. In fact, the Voyager 1 space probe in the late 70s was the first one to arrive at Jupiter, did a quick swing by before it flung out of the solar system, and closely followed by Voyager 2. So have a look at those through a pair of binoculars, but you will need times 20 to be able to stand any chance of seeing these 4 Galilean moons. You can also kind of cheat and use a zoom lens on a camera. So if you've got a zoom lens on a camera or a video camcorder, providing you've got a tripod, you might be able to spot the 4 Galilean moons of Jupiter. If you want to see the red spot on Jupiter, you will probably need about times 60 or times 70 to see it close up. But Jupiter is a great object in the night sky just after sunset. It's very easy to spot. It's probably the only thing you'll see in the night sky just after sunset. If you look carefully, about a hand's width away, so if you stretch out your hand in front of you, I'll just demonstrate that now. You stretch out your hand in front of you, then that is about sort of 15 degrees or so, and that will enable you to see between your finger, little pinky finger, and your thumb. It's about 15-20 degrees, and that's probably roughly the distance in the night sky held at arm's length, the distance between Jupiter and Saturn at the moment. So you might well be able to spot it. If you want to see Jupiter's rings, you're going to need to be using a telescope for that, around times by 70, in order to get any chance of seeing those rings. And then you can see some of Saturn's brightest moons as well, being dragged along by its gravity. Now, that's not the end of the story, because if you are up late, you will be able to see something else. You might be able to see something else, depending if the clouds come in or not. Monday, the 11th of October, at the time I'm making this video, is a better night, actually, for very late nighttime astronomy. But let me just zoom ahead to some later hours, and you can see we've got some green letters appearing here. These are various meteor showers that happen throughout the year. And you can see here, one of them particularly that's happening later this month is the Orionids. Now, the Orionids aren't that intense, but from around 12 o'clock, so about 11 p.m. onwards, if I just go back a bit to, say, 11 p.m., this is 11:30. They're just appearing above the horizon. So if you look from 11:30 onwards, you might see the occasional shooting star coming up from the east, just going very rapidly upwards as the center point for this meteor shower is dipping its way above the horizon. Now, the peak for this is the third week of October, so you only see maybe 1 or 2 or 3 an hour at the moment. But as we get towards the third week of October, you'll see more. The only downside is the moon will be in the sky at that point, so it might not have set in time for you to see the dark sky. But if you wait till later on in the night, perhaps early morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, if you're a postie, then you'll get an unbridled view of the night sky without the moon interrupting, and you might be able to see a few shooting stars. Now, let me just show you one final thing. What we've got here is the constellation of Orion. So you can see here that, let me just going to zoom forward a little bit. So you can see here the constellation of Orion. That will be much better visible in December. You've got the 3 stars of the Orion's belt and the Orion Nebula below, which is actually visible to the naked eye. And on that subject of things that are visible to the naked eye right now, if I just go back to a much more sociable time of day at around, say, 8:30, 9 p.m. This evening, tomorrow evening, you will be able to see a constellation in the sky. In fact, you can see it here. It's kind of like a square, a square or trapezium of stars in the constellation of Andromeda. And in this same constellation, as well as having these shooting stars or meteor shower that happens at a different time of year, there are a collection of stars to the left of this trapezium or square that kind of go in a nice little arc like this. And above it, there's a tiny little poke of stars. And on a very clear night in Bristol, particularly after having had some rain and a clear northwesterly airstream, you can actually see this very, very faint smudge, which is the Andromeda Galaxy. Now, amazingly, even from Bristol skies, you can see this. Or if you're in any suburban or city-based sky, if you have a clear view to the northeast or southeast at this time, you will actually see the Andromeda Galaxy is a very, very faint smudge. But you better wait till it's higher up in the sky to get above the smog levels, because it's only visible when it's at maximum. So if you want to actually stand any chance of seeing the Andromeda Galaxy, then it might be a good idea to stay up a little bit later and wait till it's higher up in the sky. You can see it's gradually going up and higher as we go on, as the evening wears on. And let's say at about 20 past midnight, it will be up a bit higher, and you might be able to see it rising above the murky skies of your suburb or your city location. If you're in the countryside, you'll definitely be able to see it with the naked eye once you know where to look. Now, the great thing about this is this object is really cool to see, even with low power binoculars, 7x50 or 10x50. If you go to 20x50, it's likely to fill nearly the whole frame, but it won't appear like this. This is a photograph of the galaxy, obviously not the faint smudge that you see with the naked eye. But bearing in mind that this object is millions of light years away, something like 2.7 million light years away, but it's actually 3 times bigger than the moon in the night sky, which is an incredible thought. And it's actually going towards us. In a few billion years, it will actually merge with our galaxy. So there's no danger of that happening anytime soon. So those are some highlights. So have a look out in the third week of October for the Orion's meteor shower. See if you can spot the faint smudge of the Andromeda Galaxy, and do look out for Saturn and Jupiter over the next few nights. They're still nice and visible in the night sky, as you can see here from the web version of this software. So that's probably all I'm going to say for now. Do have a look at the resources that I mentioned earlier on this page. astronomynear.me/resources, where you can find all the information that I've shown you in this video. Thanks very much for your time today. Enjoy your nighttime viewing, and I will see you at Astronomy Meetup soon.